the coming Trump trial, this federal trial I'm talking about, which he is petitioning to have televised. And as I think you have made the point, both in columns and on this show, you'd like to see all of the Trump stuff televised because you feel, I think that, look, once the public were to see what's actually up against this guy, the evidence of his insane, reckless wrongdoing and the underhanded, sort of devious nature of what he was doing, that the public will realize, like, this guy is, a scoundrel, to to use an old school kind of a word. But you can say it in your own words. But I guess what I'm getting at is now he is backing your position, which is, I want my trial televised. I think it's dangerous. I think he works the courtroom and works the cameras in his own way, and I think it would turn it into a circus. But I wonder if you could speak to it, because Trump really wants this federal trial televised.
Well, I think he's used to controlling the environment that he's in. And while, he's not the smartest guy in the world, and every time he's in court or in a deposition, he buries himself. So I'm not worried about that, because the judge is in control of the courtroom, not him. He will not be able to do out. And I would love to see him thrown out of court and put in handcuffs and walked out. If he disrupts the court, it's not his courtroom. It's not a rally somewhere where he is going to control. And as far as the public seeing it, it's not the public we worry about in general. There is a sliver of people who are independents, who lean one way or another each election and really control who wins the election. And they watch, they're not really paying attention until something dramatic happens. And Donald Trump in court is dramatic, and those people who are in that sliver of independence, who have not made up their mind, America either hates Trump or loves Trump. There's a 35 to 40% of people who love him, and they're not going to change their minds by seeing him in court. And they may even be stronger for him. But it's the independents who may change their mind, and by seeing any kind of antics or seeing the evidence against this man, especially, I don't think Cannon's going to allow it down in Florida, but in D.C., that trial would be revealing, I think, to the independents in this country.
Yeah, I would suggest to you that he'll take charge of that courtroom the same way that he tried to take charge of the courtroom in the last burst in the federal trial, which is, if you look at what was said in the fraud trial, okay, in New York, by Trump on the stand. We lost Avila? Okay. Let me just...
no, I'm back now.
Oh, you're back. Okay. All I would say is, Jim, in the fraud trial, where you saw the whole Trump family show up on the stand, and you saw Trump show up on the stand in the fraud trial. This is in New York. He was admonished. He was admonished by the judge. The judge actually said, "Hey, man, the judge didn't say, 'Hey, man,' but the judge said, this is not a rally. You must pull back on this stuff." Wasn't that in the New York case? And in so doing, it seemed as though Trump was going to be chastened by that he was going to be, put on a leash. But that's not what happened. Ultimately, the Trump desire to make it essentially a rally and to say whatever he wanted, that really overwhelmed the judge. And the judge decided clearly, it wasn't an articulated decision, but it was an implicit decision, just allowed Trump to go. And I think that's what would happen in the federal trial. This is not a guy, and you're not going to lock him up, Jim. I don't want to go too much around and around on this, but I think there is this thought that if he gets way out of line, he'll be locked up, as you say, taken away. And I just don't think that's going to happen. But you think it really is a possibility?
Yeah, I do. The lawyers that I listen to, who are on panels in the federal and have practiced in the federal court, believe that if he goes too far, he'll get first another big fine, and then he will get admonished in some way, including up to being put in jail overnight for a weekend. So, I think that's possible. I also think that, yes, in the New York courtroom, what happened, though, was that he got out of line. The judge kept interrupting and saying, "You're not doing this. You're not answering the questions. Answer the questions." And then, after a break, the judge, maybe he talked to his clerk, I don't know, but said, "This is not working. Maybe we should let him go because he buries himself." And they did a little bit, although he didn't. He wasn't on the stand with a bunch of antics. He just wasn't answering the question, and he was going on and on about his complaints.
Exactly.
Which we've heard a million times.
Yeah,
but
he said,
that's not.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. I mean, he's saying that he is not being allowed to speak, and his free speech is being taken away. Let him say it. And if he gets out of line where he really is disruptive, a judge will pull him in. The thing that we have to go back to is the O.J. Simpson trial, which I covered every day. And Johnny Cochran controlled that courtroom, which was, not right. The thing that made it a circus in the court. That was Judge Ito. I don't see a Judge Ito, except for maybe down in Florida, in this type of situation. I think these federal judges are much tougher, and they will rein him in.
Well, I don't know that this will have. There's tremendous push to televise it, and most of that push is from the media, like people like Jim Avila. But then you see this push from Trump. He obviously thinks that he can. And he's the master of media. And I would suggest that he's right. I think that, this is where you and I part company, but I understand you feel as though this judge will be able to ride herd over him, and I feel as though the judge will not be able to ride herd over him. But just as we've seen.
And I believe it. I believe it's history, Mark, that, this is a former president, a guy running for president, and America needs to see what he's done, what he's charged with, and see it for themselves. Because the problem is he's destroyed the institution of all kinds of institutions, okay, including the media. People are in their silos. They won't believe reporters from the New York Times. The New York Times explains what Trump is doing and what he has done and what's happening in court. They won't believe that. They'll listen to Breitbart or something on the right who will just talk about what he said in the crazy stuff he said. So those folks are in their chambers, in their echo chambers. What televising it will do is show to the general public, which is not paying attention every day like you and I are, what is really going on, and that it's not persecution, it's prosecution for a guy who's done terrible things to this country.
Well, I certainly, again, don't want to belabor it, but I feel as though, and you've made the point, that, those people who are in that silo, there's no reaching them. And televising it or not, they demonize the judge, they demonize the system, they talk about these charges that are being selectively prosecuted. And the other thing that I worry about, and this is unique to the Trump cult, is that after seeing the judge and seeing those who are on the side of the prosecution and those who are involved in the justice process, there is another level of doxing, of hounding, of threat that is represented by this Trump cult that just didn't exist in something like the O.J. Simpson trial. You'll have the interest and coverage that they had with the O.J. Simpson trial, but I suspect that the real physical threat to these people far exceeds anything that we've ever seen in this country's history in a courtroom.
Well, there are those people, and I don't know what to do about them, to tell you the truth. I think that what we have to remember is everybody expected these huge demonstrations and when Trump had to appear in court. And it really hasn't manifested. You have these individual lone, you're right, we have the individual lone wolves who are threatening people. But the mass demonstrations that we saw at the Capitol on January 6th, many people believed or were worried that this was going to happen. And it didn't. And it's not going to happen because those people have realized, for the most part, that you're going to go to jail if you do this. Those, hundreds of people went to jail because of January 6th. That was a preventative measure. We haven't seen it happen again. And I don't think it will happen again, even when Trump goes to trial, which we've already seen when went to New York, when he went to Florida, when he went to all these places. Nothing in Atlanta. Nothing happened. There wasn't huge crowds. There were a few stragglers. That's it.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I think Jim is so right when he talks about the fact that the repercussions of this kind of recklessness associated with, I can do anything, I can break into any government building, I can do whatever I want, threaten anyone I want, and there are no repercussions. I think now people have finally gotten the memo. Oh, wait, there are repercussions. So, maybe the landscape has changed. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.